Tonight you will run a piece of technology so advanced you won't even notice you're using it. You'll flip a switch and turn a room from black to bright. You'll set an alarm on a device that knows the exact position of the Earth relative to the Sun. You'll lie under a climate-controlled ceiling, behind a locked door, on a mattress engineered by people with degrees in pressure distribution, and scroll videos of dogs failing to catch frisbees for 40 minutes. Then you'll fall asleep. And if you wake at 3 a.m., you'll assume something is broken. Now delete all of it. No switch, no door, no mattress, no ceiling, no clock. You're sitting on the ground in total darkness, wrapped in an animal skin, and something large is moving in the bushes 20 feet away. That was Tuesday for 200,000 years. Here's the question almost nobody asks. What did they actually do? Not romantically, operationally. The sun goes down, the world drops to zero visibility, the predators clock in, and your entire toolkit is a sharp rock and a vague sense of optimism. What was the plan? The answer isn't they hid and waited. Our ancestors built an entire technology stack for the night: thermal systems, chemical pest control, distributed security, data storage, precision instruments, and almost all of it predates writing. Tonight we take that stack apart, layer by layer. For half of every day you cannot see. Not the streetlight is coming through my curtain's darkness. Real darkness. Hold your hand in front of your face and see nothing darkness. The kind where every snapped twig becomes a potential eulogy. And in it, things hunted. Nearly every major predator of the ancient world was crepuscular or nocturnal. At sunset, early humans flipped from being the ones doing the hunting to being a reasonably nutritious snack for something with far better night vision. You didn't need a forecast. The forecast was dark with a high chance of being eaten. So the first thing humans engineered wasn't a tool, it was a shape. A cave with one entrance is a security architecture. Back to solid rock, threat surface reduced from 360 degrees to a single monitored opening. That's design. Early humans weren't drawn to caves because they liked damp stone. They were drawn to caves because a cave has one door. You couldn't badge in, but then again, neither could a leopard. Around 400,000 years ago, the whole system changed, and here's where the story got rewritten recently. For decades, the debate wasn't whether early humans used fire. Burnt bone and ash show up much earlier. The debate was whether they could start one. Using a wildfire is scavenging. Making a spark is manufacturing. In late 2025, a study in Nature reported what may be the earliest hard evidence for deliberate fire-making at a roughly 400,000-year-old site in eastern England. 3 things in one spot. A hearth used over and over, concentrated, repeated burning, not the scattered signature a wildfire leaves. A flint hand axe cracked by heat, meaning temperatures above 700 degrees Celsius, and fragments of iron pyrite which isn't native to that landscape. Somebody carried it in. Pyrite struck against flint throws a spark, the same trick fire strikers used for thousands of years afterward. So what's in that sediment is close to a toolkit. Striker, target stone, reused hearth. Not a lucky lightning strike, a repeatable process. And once you own a repeatable process for fire, you own the night. Fire's most important function is the least physical one. It draws a line, a circle of light with you inside it. Most large predators won't cross into firelight, not because flame stops them, but because they evolved to hunt in darkness, and a bright, flickering, unpredictable anomaly is a problem their instincts have no answer for. You were safer not through strength or speed, you were safer through light. But fire did something else, and this is the part that changed what humans are. Around a campfire you can't read, can't write, can't send a passive-aggressive email to a coworker. What you can do is sit, look at each other, and talk. Researchers studying living hunter-gatherer societies, the Juhuansi of the Kalahari, the Hadza of Tanzania found a stark split. Daytime talk is logistics. Who's hunting where? What needs gathering? Who's annoyed with whom? The ancient equivalent of a Monday stand-up. Night talk is something else entirely. Ancestors, origins, the spirit world, what it means to be brave or generous or worth knowing. In the Kalahari data, roughly 4 out of 5 nighttime firelit conversations were storytelling. During the day, closer to 1 in 20. Daytime, logistics. Nighttime, narrative. Every evening, for tens of thousands of years, human beings sat in a ring of light and narrated the world to each other. Exactly what we still do with novels and films and streaming platforms. The campfire was the cinema. The storyteller was the screen. And stories aren't entertainment, they're transmission, values, history, identity, warnings, genealogy. With no writing and no external storage medium of any kind, the fireside story was the hard drive of human civilization. Lossy, self-repairing, running on nothing but voices and attention. Not bad for a group of people in animal skins with a lump of pyrite. Here's my favorite piece of ancient hardware. At Border Cave in South Africa, researchers found bedding roughly 200,000 years old, not furniture, assembled layers of selected grasses, and underneath the grass, ash. Thick, deliberate layers of it. Ash is not a comfort material. Ash is a pesticide. It clogs the breathing and biting apparatus of crawling insects and dehydrates them. Somebody, 200,000 years ago, worked out that a layer of ash under your bed means the bugs don't come. They also mixed in burnt camphor wood, which is also a repellent. And research published in 2020 pushed it further. The bedding wasn't a one-off. It was a maintained system, rebuilt from about 200,000 years ago down to 43,000. The sediment shows old bedding being burned off, then fresh plant material laid on the new ash. That's a maintenance cycle. Sterilize the old substrate by combustion, reuse the byproduct as your insect barrier, install fresh insulation on top. Somebody woke up itchy, looked at the ash from the fire, tested an idea, confirmed it worked, and taught it to other people. And that protocol ran for over 150,000 years. That's not surviving the night. That's engineering rest with a version history longer than every civilization combined. Now the part that might change how you feel about waking at 3 a.m. Most of us assume correct sleep is 8 hours, continuous, one block. Wake at 3 and you assume malfunction. You Google symptoms. By 4, you've diagnosed yourself with 3 disorders and a rare nutritional deficiency. The historian Roger Ekirch spent decades in diaries, court records, and medical texts and assembled more than 500 references to something he called first sleep and second sleep. Bed a couple of hours after dark. Sleep 3 or 4 hours. Wake naturally, not in panic, just surface, calmly. Stay up an hour or 2. Then drift back down until morning. In that window, people prayed, turned over their dreams, fed the fire, checked livestock, nursed infants, visited neighbors through dark streets like it was perfectly normal. Because it was. Now, and this is where the internet usually stops, that story is contested. A 2015 study strapped sensors to people in 3 non-industrial societies living without electric light, including the Hadza and the Tsimane of Bolivia. They slept in 1 block, not 2, and they slept less than we do, roughly 5.5 to 7 hours by season. In 2023, the historian Niall Boyce published a direct challenge to Ekirch, arguing that assuming segmented sleep was routine pushes you into overreading ambiguous old texts. So, which is it? The best answer is that the question was wrong. Not 1 block or 2, but how flexible was the system? And there the evidence is spectacular. A 2017 study tracked sleep across an entire Hadza camp, not individuals, for 20 days. Across that whole period, the total time in which every single person was simultaneously asleep came to 18 minutes. At any given moment, a median of 8 people were awake. Someone was conscious for 99.8% of the night. Nobody was assigned that. There was no rota. It emerged from natural variation in chronotype, some wired early, some late, some light, some deep. That's the Sentinel hypothesis, and as architecture, it's beautiful. A group that all sleeps deeply at once is a group that gets eaten. A group with a spread of sleep patterns has rotating sentinels, and nobody has to suffer a night watch because nobody is on watch. The redundancy is a side effect of being different from each other. We rebuilt that much later and called it high availability. Ours needs scheduling software. Theirs ran on personality. So if you wake at 3 a.m. strangely clear-headed, you're not broken. You're a node in a system that was never designed to go completely dark. For most ancient cultures, the night was the most information-dense part of the day. Which makes brutal sense. The sun died every evening. In countless cosmologies, it descended into an underworld and had to fight its way back. The Maya built calendars around bodies visible only after dark and oriented buildings to match. El Caracol at Chichen Itza appears aligned to the extreme positions of Venus, and Venus, visible only near dawn and dusk, governed decisions about war. The night sky wasn't decoration, it was an intelligence feed. Priests ran rituals in the deep hours to make sure the sun completed its passage and rose again, which from their side of the data worked every single time. 100% success rate. The priests were essential staff. And Polynesian navigators did something almost hard to accept as real. No compass, no sextant, no charts. Crossing the largest ocean on Earth in outrigger canoes to find islands that are pinpricks in an expanse bigger than all the world's land combined. Mostly at night, they memorized the rising and setting positions of hundreds of stars, read ocean swells through the hull with their bodies, tracked birds flying landward at evening, read the clouds that stack over islands. Darkness turned into a navigation system more sophisticated, in some respects, than anything we carried before GPS. Ironworking communities in what is now Zimbabwe fired their forges at night, because daylight washes out the subtle color changes in hot metal that tell you its exact temperature. Against a black background, you read those colors perfectly. That's darkness used as a precision instrument. At Mohenjo-Daro, one of the world's first cities, waste collection happened after dark. Drainage, scheduling, functionally a night shift. Nobody conceded the dark. They scheduled around it. We picture ancient nights as small and frightened, people huddled on rock, waiting passively for morning. Night as absence, the gap between days, the hours when nothing happened. That's exactly backwards. The night was when humans told the stories that became culture, when they slept in staggered patterns that gave a whole camp continuous watch with nobody standing guard, when they burned last season's bed to make this season's insecticide. When priests read the sky like a document, navigators crossed the Pacific on stars and swells, and smiths used darkness to see more clearly. The night wasn't empty. The night was engineered. Then we traded most of it for electric light, which was absolutely worth it. Running water, antibiotics, anesthesia, the internet, cheese in convenient slices. The modern world is not a downgrade, but something was lost in how completely we collapsed the difference between day and night, and in how little most of us now know about the sky over our heads or the rhythms our bodies find when nothing is telling them what to do. So the next time you surface at 3 a.m., inexplicably alert, thoughts moving through you clean as water, don't panic. Don't reach for the phone. Lie there a while. Think whatever you need to think. Be awake the way your ancestors were awake, quietly, completely, in the middle of a night that has always been yours. You're not malfunctioning. You're the oldest piece of hardware in the room, doing exactly what it was built to do.